Hello and welcome back to the 2017 Rift Rivals. Again, I'm still your host, Frost, and I'm still joined by these fantastic analysts. We just saw MVP take down M17, but now that was but an appetizer to our headliner because the KT Rolster super team is about to debut. And I know on this desk, we don't call them the super team, we call them the betrayers. This is Deft and Pawn
I'm not
returning.
that dramatic.
How deep are we putting in the knife here? Because they're also coming off of 2 domestic losses. They lost the Telecom Wars, also against Rocks, who have, to be fair, looking a little bit better. But that's still KT. The super team is not coming in hot.
And on the other side of this breakup, of course, it's RNG. And Rusty, they're looking pretty good here. But is this even fair?
It may be fair, it may not be fair, and that depends on which iterations of both rosters will show up today and whether KT is tilted or if they've got that reset coming to an international tournament or if you've got yourself RNG that we know and love. This is the good team that we send internationally most of the time, or if it's the domestic team that we've seen for the first 4 weeks, because it's been up in the air in terms of how their performances will go.
And when we tell the tale about KT, a lot of the times it's like, coming off 2 losses, that looks sad. It's even worse for them in the sense that these were reverse sweeps, both of them. We kind of expected. I remember watching the KT versus SKT game in my room. I was like, you know what? I can start being excited about KT. They're just smashing them out in an early game. Smeb is just running wild, doing incredible things. And then I was like, wait a minute. They're losing this game, aren't they? Like the mid game is starting to get drawn back a bit, and that's what you don't like about KT. They start to lose their mind. Pawn is not really playing to an expected level of him currently. And so KT, they have a high ceiling. And that's we talk about a lot. Like whenever we talk about a good team like that, yeah, they do have a high ceiling. Will they play to it? Their first set going up against RNG, you'd hope so.
Yeah, everyone's trying to pull out the Monty tweets, and suddenly they're disappearing as KT start to slide back. But we know that Pawn has a high ceiling. We know that Deft has a high ceiling, although he's also starting to slump a little bit. On the other side, you've got people like Y4. You know, this isn't Uzi taking the roster. Do we even know what his ceiling looks like? Pound for talent, can RNG even match up?
It's very difficult to call, right? I mean, that being said, they are coming off of a win themselves, and that's within this tournament as well. There were so many question marks coming into yesterday because everyone looks towards this team. If you weren't tuning in yesterday, you wouldn't know that Uzi is not even here. A lot of people is synonymous with the team, MLXG as well, and they have definitely been slumping within their own region and domestically. But yesterday, after picking up the win, does say good things towards the team.
And you can't help but feel a little bit sad that Uzi isn't here just for the fact that they're versing KT. You kind of want Uzi and Mata to be playing against each other in the bottom lane, but it is Y4, and honestly, we don't know what his ceiling is. We do not know how good he's capable of being. All we can say that is for certain is that he looks solid in the LPL, and he came into this tournament, and guess what? He was still solid.
Yeah, and we may not have the Uzi and Mata, but we do have the MLXG and Mata. And that's kind of the other love story that needs to be told. We know that in interviews, MLXG would be kind of the right hand to Mata. We're going to see some B-roll footage of them at the LPL 2015 finals, where the celebratory stand up and they all rush and hug Mata.
And in that same final, guess who was there? It was Pawn, it was Deft, EDG, RNG. You had a lot of Korean talent flying all over back to Korea. So it was an exciting moment back in the days. Now we have our own talent rising back up once again. But you can see it. Mata, Uzi, a pair once before.
It's not just like a rivalry in that they've played together. It's a father and son or a mentor and a student type of rivalry that's going to be super bitter in a way, but more passionate from MLXG. You know, he has a lot to prove to someone who was his Mr. Miyagi, you know, trying to teach him how to do all of the tricks in the jungle role.
Master Roshi down there in the support position. I feel like we're going to see a situation, though, where if they start to lose the game, RNG, that it's just going to be the kill Mata game, or, you know, the mini game, if you will.
Yeah, I'll be honest, it's probably going to be like that from the start. For this team, I think there's going to be a bit of a grudge match right here. And MLXG, spoke about him earlier as well, and he has been slumping within his own region. He used to be, in spring, we would say like easily top 5, if not top 3. Now he's definitely dropped below in the tier list. When you have the likes of Akondi running around the Rift, MLXG's value definitely drops.
And I will challenge that it's not going to be a kill Mata at all. It's going to be kill mid lane. There's no reason not to target Pawn for his inconsistencies if Xiao, who is just performing that well right now.
Yeah.
You should be propping up your mid laner to be successful when he is able to carry.
Yeah, Xiaohu's going to be a major point of success. And if you look towards the bottom lane, we already talked about Mata a little bit, but the replacement coming in on RNG, Ming versus Mata, both very strong shot callers. So when you get to the mid game, it's going to be about who can make the stronger call between the both of them. And I would like to see that happen, especially you already mentioned Xiaohu playing incredibly well. Maybe Pawn can match him.
Yeah, big shoes to fill, of course. That said, we are going to take a look at the roster lineups right now. So let's start with the super team themselves. This is their first international debut. It's Smeb in the top lane, Score in the jungle, our player to watch, Pawn in the mid lane, and then Deft and Mata.
Such a strong team, especially Smeb, who's been smashing it through. And now we're going to be looking towards RNG. Let me in the top lane, MLXG in the jungle position, Xiaohu mid, and in the bottom lane to round us out, it's Y4 and Ming.
And we mentioned Y4 and perhaps the fact that he's just a consistently good player. Well, he's also going to be flanked by Ming in his first international tournament himself. Of course, has cropped up to be a new shot caller of the team, has been coined as the replacement for Mata in terms of his roles and responsibilities within RNG, because he needs to be that voice, this actively talking member of the team. And I mean, that's big shoes to fill. And not only that, he has to play against those big shoes that he's filling right now.
But at least domestically, he's filled those shoes very well, and actually really, really cool to see. But he has grown into that position. Uzi, alongside him, it was like his boss kind of standing over him every single time he plays a game. But he walked into those shoes, has had some incredible performances. And even without Uzi, it seems like he's taken all of the knowledge and learnings from when he was alongside Uzi to Y4, and there's still a massive power in the bottom lane.
And of course, the head-to-head graphic there between those two supports. That said, a couple of missing champions for Ming. We know he has things like the Pocket Leona, maybe reaching outside. I'm pretty sure it's going to be fairly standard across from competition like KT Rolster, but a champion pool that has been quite volatile is the top lane. And we have to address it's Smeb versus Let Me, and Smeb is looking great.
Yeah, that's you have to really point that out, because especially Smeb in the laning phase, if he gets his hand on a really early game pick like Renekton, we always have to talk about it. It seems like it's always the large elephant in the room, or the croc for that instance. It's going to be a major point of focus, and his TP timings are stellar as well.
Excellent. Well, that said, it's going to be our LCK casters taking us away. So Papa and Atlas, let's go.
Thank you very much, Frosker. We almost got on a little bit earlier than you'd like, and that's exciting because I know they were trying to get over to Papa with his glorious little pin.
Yeah, I'm wearing the KT pin. Mostly analysts like to emotionally distance themselves from KT Rolster. Getting too excited about KT Rolster tends to lead to bad things, but today they're playing their 2 games. I'm going to wear the pin. I'm going to believe in KT Rolster. I'm not going to get excited just yet, Alice. Maybe later in the game.
Please don't.
There's a lot of optimism here. I mean, they talked about, because there is that matchup, right? It is Mata against his old team. There is a lot of mismatches. Let Me coming in is actually pretty big, I think, for the side of RNG, because I've always been a Let Me fan from the old days when I cast the LPL. So there's some optimism for me around him, but because it's Smeb as his opposition today, I think you need to get a top lane counter pick for Let Me, otherwise the headaches will never stop if Smeb gets a good matchup.
It'll be very difficult. We are going to jump straight into Champion Select, though, ladies and gentlemen. RNG versus KT Rolster. I'm looking forward to Xiaohu versus Pawn, because I was there in China commentating the final that we saw the B-roll of when Xiaohu, the little tiger, evolved into the big tiger up against Pawn, and that was a destructive series. You saw how excited Mata was, but now on a different team.
Now, the champions you really want to keep away from KT Rolster outside of the obvious were, specifically to me, Caitlyn, Thresh, and the Rumble. Now, the Rumble has made it through picks and bans. Galio and Thresh had to be banned on the red side because RNG will be playing this best of 1 on blue side. So the jungle pool is down Zac and Elise. That's pretty sad. Rek'Sai is taken as the preeminent jungler. We're going to look to the side of KT Rolster, and the champion that has undone them recently is going to be locked in. Deft, and specifically the Kalista Rakan, that's been a recurring story point in this tournament. A position of power has been taken, and well, the Rek'Sai is there, but Score is one of the best Gragas players in the world. Happy to just jump on that.
Yeah, so happy just to get onto utility as well. Score so good at pathing around the jungle, getting himself into positions that your opponents aren't going to be able to predict.
And what are KT Rolster good at? Getting themselves into positions where they're massively ahead in the early game. This season in Korea, in the LCK, which right now is perhaps the strongest it has ever been, KT are #1 at gold difference at 15 with an average advantage of 1,200 gold. For context, SKT is at a third of that, under 400. They have been blitzing early game. Their transitions to mid game recently have been poor. Early in the seasons were actually pretty good. It hasn't been a source of strength for them, but it hasn't been a headache like in spring season. So we have to see, can they shake away the 2 reverse sweeps recently? Focusing on the draft, Corki is taken by Xiaohu.
This is so huge.
But you do see that Pawn goes for one of the kind of new school of thought of how to deal with double 80 carry comps. Victor is one of those champions that early will not have lane pressure. Famously will rush the 1250 gold, get the first hex score, just wave clear. But in team fights, Victor can pop 80 carries. It's going to be a double 80 carry comp, you have to imagine. Go a Lich Bane, get a bit of ability power, and you can one rotation. So Victor, it's not the Cassiopeia that I think will grow to be a great answer specifically to the Corki, but it is the Victor that has been one of the cornerstones of Pawn's champion pool. This season, he has done very comfortably on Victor.
Yeah, and it was actually part of the Pawn redemption story as well. I mean, Pawn was fumbling a little bit earlier on, and when he found his stride again, it was actually bringing that Victor back into the meta. We are going to see some bans.
Will we see a Rumble
ban,
though? Because there's 3 topside bans, like you say, but the Rumble is kind of the one left open here when you're looking at dueling top lanes. Renekton is banned. There is the Rumble ban. Where the top lane goes from here is interesting. You could just take support and give Smeb the counter pick. That's probably...
Braum is available.
Percentage move take, like you say, Mata has played a lot of Braum. I'm sad we're robbed from seeing him on his Thresh that he is in form on.
What a jerk. If he's not going to lock this...
It's a Mako favorite.
You're not against Mako
Yeah,
this
but it's
time,
Deft.
KT.
Deft just wanted to go for the mana pick, and they go, interestingly, for the Alistar into Rakan, a matchup that was debuted by Gorilla in recent weeks. The Alistar can comfortably get through the lane. Most things can lane against Rakan. It's the team fights where things get hectic. Both the engage of Alistar is well known, but also just headbutting a Corki away to stop him from doing damage could be relevant as well.
Yeah, it could be massive. And of course, we know Mata to be roaming around the map whenever he wants. And that is going to be Camille locked in for Let Me up towards the top side of the map. Smeb with the counter pick opportunity unless he wants to take top cow.
So many of them are gone though. As you go back to 2015 for a second there, but so
the
many.
other option's Gragas, so that's back a bit as well.
You could go Gragas top. Interestingly, you can just cast her out of the Hextech Ultimatum. The oldest school counterpick available, amusingly, is Singed, which we've seen Huni run on in the spring season. I'm very interested to see what they decide to do with Smeb. Is Y4, he's happy to stay out of the fight. He sees a victory and he's like, I don't want to get popped by you. He's just trying to stay back and jump onto the Jhin. When it comes to dueling top laners, so many of them have been taken away. Kennen is largely deprioritized in Korea, and it's going to be just jumping on the Jace here. Plenty of lane power, but also the sort of lane where Let Me can run away from it with a couple of ganks.
And we'll see whether Let Me is going to be able to get that. MLXG has been known to gank topside quite often, but MLXG is going to be under a microscope as Score. Haven't seen him a lot in the international scene, but he's always been touted as one of the best, if not the best jungler in the world, multiple occasions throughout his career. Just has never been on the team to get him there.
And that's kind of the strange thing. Shaw made it to 2015 Worlds, but he was spoken about by me especially and other analysts as the best jungler in the world, just not present, not there to be evaluated in a snapshot in time, which is what an international tournament always represents. Finally gets to jump on his Gragas at a tournament, guaranteed to play today and at least one more match day. Score wants to grow his legend. Winning Rift Rivals is not the same as winning Worlds. KT came together to shoot higher, to win the World Championships. They get a bit of a preview. They get to see how they travel as a 5-man unit outside of Korea. This is a very important tournament for KT. Recent form, not their way. Expectation through the roof. RNG coming off a victory is going to be a stiff test, and there's a lot of fun picks to talk about as well.
Yeah, exactly right. I mean, Marta's Alistar we did discuss, but Deft, a player who struggled on Kalista at the beginning when she first came out. He was in China on EDG, actually in the final, of course, that you saw the B-roll of, but didn't manage to get the Kalista looking fantastic, but then grew into one of the best Kalista players that we have ever seen. It was with Mako being enabled on things like the Alistar. They played that lane so many times. Now it's going to be Mata moving around the map, getting himself in amongst it, and we'll see whether RNG can remember Mata's tendencies and play against him, because Xiaohu, he definitely knows. MLXG, he definitely knows. They are prepared for what is going to be coming their way, but we'll see whether they've prepared enough, because KT, when they're in form, especially in Game 1's, Papa Smithy, they look terrifying.
And both teams are playing with hot fire in the early game. Predictably, KT, they were never going to go for a tank top. I wasn't even putting 1 second of thought into it being a Gragas top lane. It was going to be a fighter. The only one available that he wanted to jump on was the Jace. Very much the mid game. 2 items on Deft, a second item onto Pawn. Would mean explosions for the side of RNG, but RNG have Trinity Force Corki on the way. They have the Camille split push as well. I feel like in the late game they have a lot more options that are reliable compared to KT, but that feels like it's literally a soundboard point about KT Rolster. They're not interested in 45-minute stalemates. They want to take the game early, and they have a draft that can do it.
Yeah, they're doing the very best they can. I do like the Alistar pick into this draft specifically. They saw the Rakan very, very early. Not a lot of lane pressure. Of course, Alistar, the reason he's fallen out was because not a lot of lane pressure. So going to be enabled for Mata to try and get through that lane.
And let's talk about what they do have, because compared to a lot of the KT drafts where it's Rumble top lane and no tank, Gragas, frontline tank, initiator, Fate's Call allows Mata to be a supreme initiator. The Fate's Call into already just the Pulverize from Alistar is a bouncy castle in and of its own. So they have a lot of initiation here, where if they do get their standard 1,200 gold lead in the early game, they can also force things and grow a lead compared to their other comps where, sure, if all your vision is correct, all your rotations are correct, you can grow leads. Having initiation as well and having it fit the meta is important for KT because it makes them even more damn potent than they already are.
Well, you can see MLXG actually towards this bottom side, considering going for a vertical jungle as Score takes down his red buff finally, is going to move towards that blue side, but MLXG just taking that Rift Scuttler for the moment.
Let's see if he hits level 3. Could be going for the experienced Quint, though he's seen pretty commonly. Hasn't killed the big Raptor just yet, so just level 2 there. As Mata just hits level 2, an instant headbutt.
Yeah, it's going to be the boot back onto Ming there as well. He's just going to have to walk out. The exhaust comes in. They want to try and take down Deft, but there are so many sticks into Y4. The Ren goes down. He's down to sub 100 health, but he still gets knocked up after the flash. The knock up to follow with the grand entrance and first blood to MLXG. They're looking for the cow after it as well. They want to pick up the beef. Now Martha's going to move back underneath that turret, and it's all gone disastrously wrong. And targeting Deft is so smart because he's so emotional on the Rift.
And they had so much time to really stop with the 2v2 and pull back after they changed targets from the support to the AD carry, and yet Deft wanted to step forward, wanted to show that he is still a relevant AD carry force on the international stage, and there's no other way to put it. He was sucked in, he was baited into an engage as Rek'Sai had the most natural pathing in the world, having taken down the Rift Scuttler. The analyst desk was talking about the Pawn question marks, and sure, that was true at the start of the season. Certainly, it was the story of spring season, but Pawn has been pretty good and pretty reliable on Galio, Orianna, the Victor. The win rate's not right there. He's been a pretty deft hand, but it's the actual man. It's Deft who has been the person who has let them down considerably. Was outclassed by Sangyun, was outclassed by Bang in their last 2 series. So getting in the head of Deft, who is an emotional player and then some, is a really big yield. So first blood, that's what RNG would have wanted in any case, but getting it onto Deft, no summoners onto the Callista, and just an Alistar for laning presence, the headaches do begin for Deft.
Yep, this is terrifying, but it's what happens now that's the real question mark. Has Deft grown? Is he able to counteract what is all of that emotion? Could use another word to describe the situation.
A T word?
Yeah, it's a T word.
Terrificism?
Yeah, terrificism. That's exactly what I was thinking. Our synergy is really growing. That's not even a word.
We love finishing each other's sandwiches.
Oh, God. That's a deep one. I like it. Okay, Deft and Mata now clearing out this wave, and we'll at least get the shove forward. At least for the moment, Deft can be happy with having the CS advantage. But that is going to be evened out by Y4. Unless he misses every one of these creeps, which he's going to. Oh no, last one.
Got it.
Picked up. Nailed it. Okay, there we are. So we're even. So MLXG will take down this blue buff. Wondering whether he was going to give this blue buff over to Xiaohu there in the mid lane, but decides that he's not going to. Just wants the experience to move forward. Very late blue buff.
It's an evolution of the meta. This was a pretty common thing, was giving away first blue and then having the disconnected blue takes top lane.
Yeah, they're looking for it. Score is here, though, as he gets the flat body slam, bops him into the face, and now Smeb, he's going to go to the skies and pick up the double.
Pathing.
That was not a great one, but thankfully this is why you drink your potions, ladies and gentlemen. And KT, 2 kills on the board, and that's the answer to the bottom lane
And
pressure.
that's why everyone wants to believe in KT Rolster, because individually, pound for pound, they have insane ceilings. Completely outplayed RNG, who thought they had the drop. No drop necessary. Double kill over to the side of Smeb. He's going to rush Blade the Ruin King, have lane presence, and have it very, very quickly. And that means KT, they've got some momentum already.
Yeah, and this was the question marks when KT weren't looking good, because that was when Smeb wasn't at his peak performance level. Well, I'll have you guys know that Smeb has looked like a god from a different planet.
We're going to
so
see the
far this
replay
season.
here. So consider what happens. It looks like obvious pathing coming in through the Rex. He gets the information now that things are going to happen. Flashes the second part as Score commits at the same time. They also juggle in. The pathing almost makes Smeb look like a very silly Billy, but he'll get away as well. Get a massive item purchase. Walks into a cloth armor and Doran's shield, Camille, with a bilge water and most of the way to Blade the Ruin King, and Let Me's life sucks.
It does. MLXG's life would suck too, as Smeb's going to come down, clear out this vision ward, or the control ward, depending on what you want to call it. As now there's the headbutt pulverized. Deft gets the slow, the ignite, comes down as Y4. He's in trouble. Marta grabs the kill. Somehow after the other end comes in, Deft's so good at threading the resets with the minions. There's going to be KT answering back on the bottom side. Now, questions for Deft. I hope that is going to answer it for you with that extra kill.
I mean, KT are just going for the all-out approach here, invading every single objective. Even Marta walks up so they can guarantee a Raptor. You look at the buy, Y4, if you saw for a second there on the player cam, had to adjust himself, looked visibly annoyed at giving up a kill, and his answering buy is a Ninja Tabi. Boots 2 is a very common rush in most Jhin lanes, but against Alistar as well, having no combat stats, 3 pushing lanes, MLXG, it's all on him to find the right spots, and he's found top lane.
Well, in goes Let Me. They are going to get the silence down.
Trade kill?
Smeb trying to get that trade, but smacks him away. Not quite enough with that last auto attack, and Let Me is going to be able to lock down the kill in response.
And KT want to play this with 3 pushing lanes and also their jungler invading. There will be very reliable spots for MLXG as Rek'Sai, who can cheat past vision anyway with the tunnel systems, to come around and really focus down different lanes. This is the sort of game where MLXG has to return to previous form. But before 2016, MSI was looking like a great jungler, and sure, I know the best time is Score just has a party cask. Too late on that one, knew what he was going for. But MLXG should have a lot of options in this game to coordinate with his lanes. Cannot feel sorry for himself after failing on the top lane gank, because KT want to present opportunities. You see Ninja Tabi Jhin, you see how many items are loaded on the Jace. There's no ambiguity. We're playing this game, if you're KT Rolster, under the enemy turrets.
Yeah, that's exactly what's going to happen. And Score, of course, has the pick of the litter as far as where he wants to go now as well to try and get that counter gank pressure. Will they be able to get the vision down to make sure that they know where MLXG
and
is?
that's the fun game, is that honestly, it's probably best for Score to just be in the face of MLXG at all points while his lanes are winning around him. As MLXG's back top lane.
Yep, Smeb doesn't have flashback available. He's going to boot away MLXG. It's going to be the CC not available anymore, as there's the ultimate. Smeb's still alive, looking for Let Me. Almost gets it. The minions still angry with the Camille, but not going to be enough, and that is 2 deaths in a row for Smeb, going over-aggressive once again.
And Score doesn't have ult this time, so just enter lane and pick up CS. This gives a bit more experience and gold onto the side of Let Me in particular. Needs the help. Smeb doesn't have flash up. That was with Hextech Ultimatum on cooldown, so a bonus kill, you'd say, over to the side of RNG, and trying to slow down the man who could honestly have just decided the game himself. This could very much have been a 9-minute Blade the Ruin King if he was just farming and harassing down the Camille.
Well, now Xiaohu, this is the guy that we were looking at in RNG's previous series. On the Corki again, not sitting at 4 odd kills here at the 10-minute mark into the game. This time, however, still has this power pick, still has the Ultra Spiker. It's basically Rammus as far as item spikes are concerned. He gets one every single time he completes something, and even has one now with the Sheen. He's opting out of completing his Hex Drinker for more priority on the early Trinity Force. Xiaohu knows that he has to get work done in the early to mid-gamers. Yeah, Fate's Call is going to come down. Flash easily gained with that ultimate. Marta not going to get knocked up by the Grand Entrance, though. Now KT moved themselves back. That was the easiest summoner spell of their lives.
There's also that history between Xiaohu and Pawn, as they played in China for a very long time against each other on some of the preeminent squads. EDG versus RNG definitely represented in that matchup.
And of course, picking the Corki away from Pawn is massive. He's always loved that pick ever since it moved towards that mid lane. Deft, of course, probably the best Corki player that we've ever seen towards the bottom side, but that was a very long time ago.
Yeah, when I was casting LPL in 2015, it was the Deft Corki, but last year it was more about the Pawn Corki with the meta changing.
Yeah. It's cool to see that they still remain on the same team, no matter what.
Trading Corkis.
Yeah, trading Corkis.
Always in the meta, one lane at a time.
The inevitability of always being a Corki meta at some point.
It's worth noting that Xiaohu will have a tougher job in this particular game when it comes to making the cross-map plays, given that Vision Supremacy is kind of gift-wrapped to the side of KT when you have lanes winning in terms of pressure in all three at times. Mid lane can be equalized out by the Corki, but largely going to be 3 winning lanes to the side of KT. Looking for their first neutral objective, and Rift's Cutler is going to be halted. I guess they saw Rakan pushing up and consider their options.
Yep, actually looking for the kills rather than taking the dragon just there. Of course, Mountain Drake holds a little bit more
used by
weight.
Whitefort off screen.
Okay.
Guess it wasn't that important.
They're going to go back home. The flash from Ming there as well. They were going for the Jin, knowing that his flash was down. Now they're just going to move back, potentially go towards that dragon, but they're not going to opt into it. And I would have thought that the priority on the Mountain Drake would actually be quite high for KT this game, with the fact that they do have the Callista. They got so many opportunities to disengage from Baron fights, things like that, with the Gragas, and Marta, of course, with the Headbutt. There are so many opportunities to set up around these river objectives.
I mean, the Mountain Drake's basically diamonds to both sides, Atlas. It is a Trinity Force Corki, and also let me on split push duty on the Camille as well. So I think both sides equally prioritize this. Xiao just goes in aggressively.
Yeah, Ming's looking for it. Actually, Flash going to be used by Pawn. Ming didn't have that one, of course, but had to respect the quickness.
Nice little lane gank, something that we don't see very often from the side of the Rakan, but played it well. Marta spotted out on the top side, so won't be able to just jump in and try to help out Jace, who's been frustrated with the last 2 kills being going against him.
Yep, just going to be standing underneath the turret this time around. The cow support, definitely good. God, that Mukau skin is so good.
It's a chroma for it as well, so it's extra silly. Mid lane.
Yeah, there's the flash knockoff. Pawn, a lot of damage coming in there as there's the Void Rush. And Xiaohu's going to be able to grab that kill. Tanking up the turret just fine at the same time. We are going to have Blade of the Rune King picked up by Smed, but I mean, that's the only good news story for KT after that dive.
And the extra damage coming through on the Rek'Sai makes those turret dives even more potent, has a Cinder Hulk for survivability, and the missing health damage allows them to take down Pawn, and the game's starting to go back towards the side of RNG. MLG has been able to be in position for all 4 of the kills that have come to RNG. They turn onto that Mountain Drake. We said it's diamonds, that means that KT, they probably want to contest if they can.
Yeah, there is certainly a Fate's Call available if Marta wants to go in. Does get himself a lot of damage as Ming has to get himself out of there. The Trample's going to grab him, and he steals the dragon. We say that Marta giveth, Marta taketh away, and he's given it this game. That is massive. Score's going to be able to take down Y4 as well.
He either trampled it or damn auto-attacked it, slapped it by the side of the head. It wasn't one of his teammates when they disrespected him. It was a Mountain Drake picked up by the side of Marta. That goes so much against the grain of the last few minutes for RNG. Man.
What the heck was that? Was it a pulverize? Please tell me it was at least a goddamn pulverize.
I don't think it was pulverize. Atlas, he already used Headbutt Pulverize, and it was a level 6 Alistair. Doesn't have the cooldowns to do it again. So Smite was a little bit too early, we'd say, by MLXG. And, you know, if you're going to make the storyline, the narrative, giveth and taketh away, that's been MLXG in summer season. Had big games, had small games. Mountain Drake for both these teams can be a breaking point. So they engage, and it's just a 2v3 as they walk in, ignite enough to take him down. And it was a trample. A damn trample from the Mukau was enough to take down the Drake. Stop laughing, Atlas. This is serious. This is international competition.
That's a serious disaster for RNG, Papa Smithy. That is, it deserves to be laughed at purely because that definitely shouldn't have happened. That calculation from MLXG must have been extraordinarily close to being a genius maneuver. But, oh, goodness me. Okay, so RNG attempting to reset after the problem. They do have the item spike, the first one for Xiaohu there in the mid lane. Trinity Force is done. We've got Tiamat and Sheen. Good item breakpoint for Let Me there as well, but Smeb, he's still continuing to push ahead. He's currently only 37 CS ahead at 15 minutes. He could probably do better than that.
And the gold values are pretty good. It's hard to kind of chastise Smeb so much when there was the top lane camp.
I was being sarcastic, most definitely. Certainly should be, you know, at least more close to even when it's a 2-1-1 Camille now.
I mean, the item lead is not massive, though, as Marta's gone for a walk.
Yeah, Grand Entrance is going to land onto the Gragas. That's the only one, but good CC coming out of RNG. The disengage with the cask is there. A score is going to fall down. MLXG, he's on a mission, just looking for Deft, who does use the flash to get himself out. Fate's Call saves Marta completely as well. And then Smeb comes down. He's going to save the rest of his team, but they get the pick.
Now, Marta couldn't be that far up. It was a disengage mission, given that Victor is bot lane. Just wave clearing and pushing. Side lane Victor to get to 3 items. At least 2 is something. And Smeb's got greedy.
Yeah, that was a fadeaway jump shot that he was trying to do onto MLXG. He's trying to get to the blast cone, but doesn't get there. And Xiaohu gets another kill. 2-0-2 now is the little tiger in the mid lane. And RNG, they seem to be able to get behind him when he's playing well. And my goodness, he's playing well this tournament.
Smeb's just trying to do too much, trying to take a red buff against the flow of pressure. And as the Victor, was just wave clearing in bot. So a mistake from Smeb after a very nice double kill early. Things have been going against him, which may be a big problem if enough gold is loaded onto the Camille.
Oh goodness, Deft is getting so aggressive now. Does have his Blade of the Ruin King, so the item spike is there. He's 18 CS in the lead, and he's now looking to take down this outer turret, and will do so very easily, as no one can take down this minion wave. Okay, KT playing on the front foot, despite things going slightly wrong with that one pick going over to RNG.
But are we happy, Atlas? Because some games you have 5 people who stack AD and AP, and you're like, give me that Inferno, and it comes out. In this game, you have 2 teams that are all about taking turrets and the split push, and we have a second Mountain Drake spawning. We will see another hard contest, you'd imagine, or maybe even an unlikely trade of an objective as big as Rift Herald or Baron for a Mountain Drake, something you never want to think about, but something where the allure of the Mountain Drake may be strong in this particular game. Victor just running down the lane with Jace. They want to take the top turret as they're trying to take the Rift Herald as well. Deft can just put 700,000 spears into this.
He's just dancing around at that lifesteal.
What are we
seems
at
to be
here
enough.
in terms of spears? Oh, we're not looking at the Rift Herald,
Not
sadly.
quite 700,000 just yet. But he's pretty close to getting a bunch of sticks in there.
About 1,500 damage, you'd imagine.
Let's see where he uses it. Hopefully,
Well,
that's 1,000 damage. Not bad.
Easy peasy there, and the Rift Herald picked up by Pawn. They already cracked the mid lane turret. Maybe just using it to slow down the pace of the Camille may have to be the case, or try to make a big push in the mid lane. Jace is slowly shadowing Camille. Camille's on the front foot.
Whoa! Okay, score. That's another party cast.
Got another,
that
that's
was
got
a
the flash
so
out of Y4.
Didn't quite see him there. Was watching the main screen, not the minimap. The classic play-by-play caster maneuver.
All the action happens on the minimap, Atlas.
What am I doing?
The
Need to be
featured
looking at the
action.
wards. For instance, look at this control ward on the top of the map, where Pawn is right now. He's just found it, but that was a money ward. That was there for
Tell
a
me
long
more
time.
about this control. What's it for, Atlas?
Oh, it's for seeing stuff.
Ah, well, that's very, very good stuff there.
Thank you.
This is why you could be
I know.
an analyst in disguise.
I might study the minimap because it sounds like it's relatively.
I'll talk to our producer. Maybe you can sub in on the analyst desk. Your English is improving.
Oh, thanks. Oh God, that's an old one.
But a good
would be proud. Martin would be proud. Okay, Deft throws down the Blade of the Ruin King. A lot of damage comes out of the Foss Bomb, but does manage to get the Valkyrie. Deft demands the respect.
And he's getting the turret super, super low, but that didn't end up being a big point in our first game. Item Spike starting to get their Trinity Force and Sorcerer's Shoes, but Pawn getting to play side lane hasn't put him in a CS advantage over his opponent. But when you're 0-2, being able to just casually stroll bot lane, pick up minion waves, and stay competitive is good enough. They find a spot. He just went top lane this time, and it's more about the minions for Pawn, but he'll take a turret as well.
Actually, Pawn sacrificing a cannon creep. That is not the Pawn way of life that I have come to know.
Well, because he wants to claim a bigger prize. That'll be the Mountain Drake. Needs to be in position for that in 5 seconds, and no teleport for Pawn.
Wow, that Rift Herald just really wanted to get to the turret, which is certainly lucky. Blade of the Ruin King comes down, keeps Smeb safe. That outer turret is still alive, thank goodness. Oh, knock-ups are plenty. Marta's going to move past MLXG.
So KT have been a bit greedy. With the Drake already spawned, only now the shops come through and they return. It is perfect Hex Core and the Sheen. So like I mentioned, they're going to go for the pop the 80 carry build with Lich Bane second after the perfect Hex Core. They're a little bit later to put down vision around this Mountain Drake. So it won't be quite as sturdy, about as much information as Mata perhaps would like in this area. The score puts down a control ward. They try to get the control. They're turning onto Ming.
Yeah, Ming's in trouble. Actually throws down the
There's
quickness,
no one to
gets
really...
the knock up. Y4 looking for the stun, but it's Mata that soaks that one. So that is ultimate down. So this dragon fight could be a little bit of a disaster. They've now got an 80 carry with no flash and no ult onto Ming.
Yeah, and Ming, we've already seen the value of the quickness in denying Barons and initiation. Not having it means the threat range of Rakan needs to be respected, but nowhere near the level that we've had to see respected in some of the Kalista Rakan games. In game 1, for example, of the day. So if they want the Drake, they can look at it. Spending more time with Victor, clearing minions in bot. They're not going to put up any defense around mid lane, because that's one shot away.
Yep. They're going to breathe on the turret. Shadow that grabs it.
Gragas just chilling. Doesn't have full information on control wards. The scanner spots him.
Yep. He was actually going to sit there. Of course, the Tremor Sense not going to see him, but thankfully he did have that sweeper. That is Ghostblade used. Y4 is scared.
And the new school of build for junglers, these tank junglers, I think we'll see even more of it when we move to the next patch. It is going to be the Runic Echo on Gragas. So we don't have the Cinderhulk buff just yet, but it is second item Knight's Vow. Cinderhulk Knight's Vow will become, I think, the core item on both Gragas and, say, Rek'Sai, for example, to keep these 80 carries alive. So already more safety. It's not the tank build we saw yesterday from D, where he was going for the Phantom Dancer into even more tank. It still could be Phantom Dancer. I think the Sterix Gauge. That's one I'm going to take umbrage with, but we'll talk about that if Deft goes that way. Speaking of Deft,
yeah, MLXG taking a lot of damage. Rend is going to be used. MLXG takes a bit from that. Half health on the jungler, and KT with 2 Mountain Drakes and double Blade of the Ruin King and a lot of damage out of Victor. Could go towards Baron whenever they want to, but it's risky.
yeah, the disengage when the Hexagon Maiden can come out is pretty minimal, so they're probably going to have to be a bit more careful and look for the pick rather than try to rush it down. The trickiness, even with a ability to bounce over the back when the last cone spawns, is probably not the right move there for KT.
Yeah, I do want to talk about MLXG, though, because a lot of the microscope was on him and about how his performance was going to be this time around. Currently, 100% kill contribution. He managed to camp out Smeb to try and get Let Me back into that matchup. This is the MLXG that we wanted to see to make this a match, Papa Smithy. And now moving into the late game RNG, we know that their name certainly dictates the random nature of this team, but on this form, if they are going to be this iteration of RNG, KT needs to play with respect.
And we'll see how much respect, because they also need to continue to hit their timings, continue to push forward. 2 items complete on Depth. Will not get more powerful than this exact second. Probably a QSS next just to cement exactly where he's at. Victor will continue to scale up, but they will soon have to deal with Camille basically taking full supremacy over Smeb in lane, a level up already. Will soon have Titanic Hydra and other itemization and be unable to answer her in the split push. KT continue to need to play on the razor's edge, on the aggressive line. They cannot allow free items to go over to Camille, because then it will very much get to that mid to late game where KT, they're not set up to succeed in this game.
Yeah. The moment score just hanging around this Baron buff. It is going to be the aim for the moment. Let Me taking a little bit of damage, but looks to be able to handle Smeb for the moment. Doesn't quite have any lifesteal just yet or anything like that, so the damage is a little bit more sticky. However, does just have a lot of 1v1 potential against this man, and Let Me has always been that carry top lane player. I remember the first time we were casting him, Pop Smithy. Oh no, there's going to be an engage actually. The quickness comes in from Ming, trying to charm everyone up, but there's the boot back. It's going to be an ultimate used defensively and actually saved Ming's life. Curtain Call comes in, and now they're looking to take down Mata. Not going to be able to, and everyone gets out of the way of the Curtain Call. That was amazing.
Yeah, Lobo teleports to do it, but RNG really wanted to fight. KT's comp is not about the flank teleport like most teams are from Korea. It's Jace, so they very much want defensive teleport, or Jace just matching Camille. So both of them having no teleport is a big advantage to KT, because the 4v4 is a lot more true for KT than a 5v5. They don't have to respect the Hextech ultimatum. They can disengage with the hopping and skipping of the Kalista, and specifically the Alistar to disengage. So with a disengage situation and now return to the Baron setups, they're very happy with how this worked out, KT Rolster.
Yeah. Now actually going to get full vision control over this top side of the river. MLXG.
Not moving.
Yeah, could be in trouble. Takes a lot of damage.
Pawn was the kid that snickered too early in hide and seek.
Yep. Xiao actually got so much value out of that rocket. It was one of the most satisfying rockets I have ever seen. If there's a lull in this game, which there probably won't be, I'd like to see a slow motion replay. Okay, Mata setting himself up. KT move themselves back. So it's 200 gold now the lead for KT Rolster. This is so incredibly close. Slight turret lead for KT, and they do have 2 Mountain Drakes. But RNG only need to take that last remaining outer turret on the bottom side, and they will be ahead in gold.
The vision game right now is so important for KT. Not having Flash on Score or Mata means that only the Fate's Call gives them ranged initiation to allow the Alistar to get in the backline. And fighting now is what they want. They have the items, they have the Knight's Vow, Ninja Tabi duo, and the 2 items on Deft to win team fights. If Deft gets into the middle of the enemy team and can't be focused down instantly, it should be a team fight victory for KT. But without control wards and basically chilling in a control ward, because you need a vision advantage and also have to respect the tremor sense to really get the engage you want, given that's already a 2-point plan and unrealistic to be able to be made with any reliability, it's very tough for KT to force the fights they want. And when they see Camille in side lanes, Corki in side lanes, they get worried about the scaling, and that's why you see them just returning to Baron and wanting RNG to come to them.
Well, just clearing out vision, not able to quite find an engage that they're looking for. Black Cleave is done for Smeb. Should help him a little bit in this 1v1, but Titanic Hydra is there for Letney, and he's continuing to build damage. I wonder whether that dagger is going to turn into a Blade of the Ruin King of his own, committing to that possible 1v1. Xiaohu has the package available. They have more summoner spells available, and Xiaohu's hit that second item spike, or third theoretically, because you could imagine that Sorcerer's Shoe is also a pretty big item spike. Every single item he picks up, but the Infinity Edge is probably the biggest.
Especially against a team that has Ninja Tabis no more when it comes to armor counts.
Yeah.
We'll rip through, and the magic damage, sure, is the higher part of the quotient, but there's Spectre's Cowl, a little bit going on for Mata, not much for other members. So when it comes to Corki crits, that's something that KT, moment you draft Jace, really isn't going to be able to itemize against to with any reliability. It's one of the reasons Corki is so strong is the mixed damage, especially being high on the magic quotient where you don't get as much MR per level as you get armor per level. And KT being forced into the mid lane, just wave clearing. I don't think loading gold onto Pawn is enough of a boon to allow RNG to skip past Deft being just unassailable in team fights on 2 item and a half Callista. And RNG, they can push around, they have Tremor Sense for the safety to play in both sides of the map. We're waiting for KT to go Rambo, and I guess they feel like they need their flashes because for now, they've given up map control, and happily MLXG can just start the Infernal Drake.
Yeah, Infernal Drake means so much to RNG's composition as well, with 3 huge damage dealers, as well as new and improved Rek'Sai doing a little bit more damage. MLXG going to be able to lock that one down. Still, the mountains are going to be important, but Smeb has to go towards the bottom side of the map to clear out that minion wave. And KT once again in that 4-1 scenario, which as this game goes on is somewhere they're going to want to be less and less.
Okay, let's take the deep breath. Well, maybe we won't.
Okay, Xiaohu's going to take a heck of a lot of damage. That Chaos Storm is following in perfect
Watch the
Hextall,
flashes.
giving it so much more speed. Yeah, the flash is going to come in as Ming. They're just looking to transition. Pawn, oh, he's so hungry for blood right now. Wants to get something other than deaths onto his scoreline.
And that's the reason why he kept the chase up. The movement speed of the Chaos Storm was enough that even him threatening to flash Q was enough to force the preeminent flash from Xiaohu. That does mean Corki may be more capturable by a displacement effect. Now you can cast Predict the Valkyrie and be able to bounce the Corki into a team. So big victory got him there. Just waiting in the brush for Pawn. Still, okay. We take that deep breath. All the flashes are back up, bar Corki's. KT now really do have the items and also the go button to make something happen. They have an obvious target in the Corki. Jace sitting in a side lane. The moment they see Camille and that Gragas and Mata on the Alistar can walk down and get the control worlds around Baron, that is kind of the flare point of this game. The game will be decided by the first Baron dance. I think whichever team picks it up should have the tools to actually force a massive advantage.
Well, KT's actually grouping up as 4, looking to try and get that pick. Xiaohu aggressively positioned actually as Pawn's clearing out vision.
No, it's there. There's the control ward. This is the time. What will KT do? Jace has already been called. Even though teleports are up, both are around. KT start to back away. All that time invested in Vision may just be wasted.
Yeah, I'm actually looking to try and make sure they're as strong as possible for this next fight. But RNG, 5 members here. They may just rush this one down. I don't know whether they knew that the backs did come in, but RNG now clear out the Vision. Should mean that KT will have enough time to make it back to this pit.
Yeah, there wasn't enough advanced vision to have full information. Full information, I agree. You start the Baron and say, huh, thanks for the leash, thanks for the extra time, we'll just take it down. In this case,
for the welcome committee or something
sure.
like that.
Putting down a flag on it
Yeah.
for it to only to be claimed by RNG, but they back away. Like you say, they value getting the Phantom Dancer. It was the Phantom Dancer. They actually showed it. Here we go.
There's the Flash. They're looking for Ming, who does get some time by himself. Flash's grand entrance to exit the fight, but the quickness did have to be invested, and the Flash there as well. Rakan, his engage doesn't need to be respected. Now KT using that as an opportunity to go for this Baron. Their secure is massive as there's the Fate's call. Mata actually flashes after MLXG, but he's not going to be able to create enough distance, and Mata, the ultimate is down, but he should fall, and that is going to be the pick going in favor of RNG.
Mata called the go button, went over the wall, was completely owned by MLXG getting the tunnel out, and thus he couldn't get the headbutt to kill the smite. Now it's 5v4.
Yeah, Letme's going to jump his way in there. Smurf does a fair bit of damage, but there's the knock up onto Score. Pawn does a lot of damage in the front line. They do trade it, as now the curtain calls picking up the kills. Deft is trying to dance around Letme, looks for it, gets the kill as Pawn flashes himself to safety. It's a 3 for 2, but jungle is dead on both sides, and I can imagine RNG don't want to go back to Baron now.
Yeah, 5v4 goes 2 for 2 after the pick onto the Alistar, so KT do spare Mata the embarrassment of his one play being what led to the Baron, potentially the tide changing for RNG. Still no one is able to inch forward. Still, we have the relative parity between the comps, but as the time keeps ticking, the ambient gold starts to stack up. The moment in time for KT starts to go away. They just want to take down Rakan, pop him instantly, but they don't have massive burst when Pawn isn't there. Pawn was in the top side. Glister needs that bit of extra time to get a pick. They turn on to Baron, and they see MLXG, and they think even over the wall, they can get the hit. But MLXG is able to just tunnel out and just knock up, specifically Alistar, to stop him from being able to headbutt Rek'Sai over the wall. There isn't anyone there to capitalize. They give up the Alistar for free. Now it's 5v4, and that's why even though it's a 3 for 2 overall, RNG look for bonus exit picks and a Baron from getting the smite away and be able to turn this, but Pawn is in position to clean up. Letme thinks he can, even from below half health, take down Deft, and damn is he close as Pawn does the rest of the work. They get a lot of flashes. The next fight will be fought with very few summoners. But KT Rolster, they gave up the Baron there. I think the game does go the way of RNG. That hasn't happened yet, but okay, Fate's call.
Yeah, that's going to come down. They're looking for this one more time. Actually, Letme in possible trouble as the Hextech ultimatum does go down. But look at this damage. Deft is going to pick up that kill, and it's probably just going to extend from there. Chaos Storm was invested, so KT used a lot of cooldowns, but that could be just the pick that they were looking for.
Yep. Taking down the top laner without teleport notice means they have even more than the 40 seconds of the death timer. They turn on to Baron. They don't even have a control ward for it. They put it down now. The vision is being cancelled. The Rek'Sai, it's 5v4 again.
Yeah, jumps into the pit. Just not going to look at the Baron there as well as he throws out the ult. It is going to be Mata falling as the Baron still alive, but the kills are coming for KT. It is going to be Kalista locking down the Baron, of course, as Y4 has to flash. Deft wants to take him down as well as Score is going to get rid of Xiaohu. And Y4 says, well, I'm going to at least get some minions before I inevitably fall down and waste some time there of KT.
KT played the ultimate dangerous game. They focused on the kills instead of the Baron, so the Rend was used early, and Baron was sitting there to be grasped at 800 HP. But MLXG died fairly early. Now we're just watching Score and Smeb clear up who's going to take down Y4. It's probably going to be Smeb.
Yep, so Disguise gets that last auto attack, and Smeb's going to go back to base. Empowered Recall to try and buy some more items. Mortal Reminder finish for Deft, as well as the Phantom Dancer. You got so many things coming.
And your eyes were obviously trained on the Baron. It got lower and lower, but KT, they weren't focused on the Baron. The Rend was used early to try and get kills. It was actually on cooldown, so it wasn't there for the secure. Turned around, but because RNG were the 4 in this case, and there was just enough health on Score to peel away, they were able to get in there. They pick up both objectives, Atlas. The Mountain Drake meant that the speed was fast enough to not just give up their health bars trying to claim it. They could turn. They do turn. and now RNG have to deal with a Baroned up KT Rolster, and even Jace picked up a lot of exit kills in that scenario. As speaking of exit kills,
Yep, they're actually looking for MLXG here. Just gets cast as he's going to jump down, but Smeb just looking to kite this one out. The CC's there, and Smeb is going to grab that kill. All too easy, as MLXG is the largest form of initiation aside from Ming, and that's going to spell the end of this turret and possibly more here for KT. It feels like exactly what you said, that first Baron, so incredibly important for both of these teams, and KT is capitalizing. Base is broken, and this inhibitor will follow very quickly. 30 seconds on MLXG.
I mean, it's Baron buff, Jace, Callista, double Mountain Drake, and a goddamn Lich Bane on Pawn. They have everything to delete structures. They can dive as well. Speaking of dive, I want to take down Ming. He'll flash away. Ming this game has not been 5 from yesterday, interrupting Barons and getting big initiation. He's been well held.
Well, we do have the curtain call coming in, just looking to try and delay KT. They wanted to get out of the way and take down this minion wave. A couple of bullets are going to be held onto. Score just eliminates any reason for that bullet to even be fired at.
Here we go!
There is the cast to come back. Ming was getting into quickness mode and then just popped with Pawn's burst damage, which is gigantic right now. Inner falls down. Now the next inhibitor turret will go as well. KT, this is the decisive play this team is capable of. And another ult. There's the headbutt pole, but it's the poor man's Callista Rakan coming in there, and Marta's making it look good as Letme has to flash his way out. MLXG was alive for, I believe, about 12 seconds until he's inevitably taken down. Another shock blast is going to erupt the Rek'Sai, and now inhibitor number 2 and possibly the game for KT Rolster.
Yeah, they still are 4 men strong. Corki popped Victor, but otherwise had to get out of dodge. They're going with the teleport here. There's still members alive on RNG, but they're going to try and end the game.
Yep, it's only Y4 and MLXG to die here, and Xiaohu does a lot of damage. Has another one of those item spikes to score. He's taking a fair bit. Xiaohu healthy and getting damage in, but now Deft looking for that Rend kill, looking for the Rend sets, as it were. Shock Blast not going to find their targets, and KT playing with respect against RNG.
Yeah, maybe we can breathe, says KT Rolster. They realized that even though the Baron was the centerpiece to ending the game, they got the Baron, they ruined the base, not 1 inhibitor, but 2. Now they have a gold lead as well. They can freshly sharpen. Whatever scaling RNG were looking for is going to be pretty irrelevant. The fact that KT will just play as 5 no longer is something like Letme's ability to split push going to be a factor. It's now completely thrown out the window. It's only going to be about the 5v5, and Deft, with both inherent and passive types of tankiness, with his team actually playing around the Callista. No longer does he have to worry about Callista's ruining his day. He's now able to frontline to some degree. They'll take an Ocean Drake for no reason at all.
Yep,
and look to end the game.
Actually take down MLXG here at the same time as Deft just pulls Marta away, wants
Where
to
you going?
take down this Camille. It's all too easy as well, as MLXG's going to join them. The flash from Deft gets himself over, and he's just bouncing around this party, but can they take him out? No, they can't! As there's the Void Rush, it's still not enough! Deft is going to take both of them down. It's going to be Score that claims the kill, but this guy's Callista so good now.
You heard the roar of the crowd. They get the 2 because they want more. They just want a bouncy castle, but the package allows Corki to live, at least for the start.
Yeah, but the health bar's still so huge on the side of KT. Well, Smith, not so much. That's a massive crit coming out of Xiaohu. Curtain Call comes in once again, looking for Deft. He's bouncing around. These bullets from long range should be able to let RNG breathe for a moment, but the super creeps are an inevitable prospect. They just won't be able to get around if KT stay here.
The heals coming through from the Alistair are not to be trifled with. The redemption through already. He's just doing huge AoE heals after the last buff. You don't see late game Alistair that much. Yep, the Corki crits. Still pretty insane.
That is silly. Has himself those double Zeal items as well as the Infinity Edge. That is crazy. So third inhibitor is going to fall down, and KT is going to back away, try and get some health bars back.
No Nexus explosion yet. They rely on the fact that they have those 3 inhibitors down. Back away. Could just get the next Baron. It spawns in a minute 25, and RNG, with their relatively low wave clear, finding a way to push out 3 waves of super minion and contest a Baron. Probably going to be on the side of impossibility. A walk up for now, but only for a few seconds will RNG actually have the latitude to leave their base.
Yeah, we are going to see this fight one more time.
Look at how much coverage Alistair gets with the Fate's Call here. It's a roughly 2,500 range headbutt pulverized. Thank you very much. And to Letme's credit, lives a lot longer than you'd expect when Rek'Sai was there to start closing the distance. Deft falls immeasurably low. And the AoE heal for 328 after the change to no longer halve it for teammates. You
thought
can't
that was
proc it on
summoner heal.
I know, you can't proc it on demand, Atlas. He didn't have summoner heal. He needed some minions to die and some damage to go through to be able to proc the heal, and it actually has come up big trumps. The late game Alistar passive, of all things.
And he took a dragon with a trample as well. This guy's making Alistar do things that he shouldn't, as there's the headbutt pulverize. Speaking of the Alistar.
This time Vibes in the backline though.
Yeah, he's trying to look for it as Ming is going to fall down, but has he accomplished enough as Pawn has fallen down? Deft, he's unstoppable though as he's dancing around. MLXG going to fall. Look at all the health that he's getting back from this one. Let me jumps himself
Gets
down.
him.
Yeah, the Guardian Angel is there as the flash from Mata gets himself out of the way of death. As now Smev's going to make his way back in, jumps on top of Xiaohu, scores still there with full health, by the way. He just dived a little bit further forward, and now KT Rolster, they're going to ignore Let Me unless he goes a little bit too far forward, and take down the Nexus and win their first international match as this roster.
Man, it ended up being quite a long, winding path to get there, but the first Baron was what KT Rolster had their sights on for about 5 to 6 minutes of prep work. They tried to peel off. They tried to just take down the Rek'Sai. Mata gave up his life, and you started to wonder, was that the turning point for KT? Would this be another disappointment in a row after being reverse swept in the telecom war and by Rock's Tigers? The eventual answer was no. They did stick the landing. The late game Alistar was a pleasure to watch. The Fate's Core interaction with Alistar was the gap close they needed to make the forces, and also maybe it will herald more priority from KT Rolster on the Kalista, because for once they had the initiation to start fights on their own terms rather than just relying on vision and people hopefully sitting in an equalizer.
Yeah, things looked great for KT, and you saw big hugs coming out from the team as well as MLXG and Mata, big smiles. They know that this game didn't necessarily mean massive implications, things like that, and they still can be pleased with each other afterwards. But a massive performance from KT, and they looked brilliant towards the end there. And the question marks on Deft are what I really want to talk about. He went down for first blood, MLXG punished him, and he still looked great towards the end of that game, which I feel really is the evolution that they were looking for.
And knew his role in team fights, which is something that has been kind of up and down. I want the analyst desk to confirm this, but now going to 5-match wins, maybe that does secure the LCK as first seed.
Oh, could possibly be the thing. And speaking of that analyst desk, let's throw it over right now.
Thank you, Papa. And with that, LCK are 5-1. But gentlemen, this game started out pretty good for us. I mean, RNG, a bit of a tug of war back and forth. But let's go from the very beginning and take a look at that draft and what both these compositions were supposed to do.
Yeah, so KT's team composition does feel a little bit like you're paying homage to the LPL. Naturally, a bit of a hint of Master, obviously, with the draft. The Alistar being picked, namely into the Rakan. As you said, it's a good matchup, but what it does provide is basically the same thing as the Kalista Alistar combo that you've been seeing from Kalista Rakan, where you can just hard engage. You can cover screens worth of distance and catch people out of position. Gives all the free time in the world for Deft to collect the spears that he can then rend out of his opponents. That's the basis of the composition, where you've got a split pushing Jace, you've got an engaged role in the jungle, and your mid laner just has to do his job and clear the waves and be fine, which is perfect for Pawn.
Yeah, that's a big point from him. That makes it so their team fights, as they get down the line, as you saw it near the end of the game, was very hard to break. But then my focus turns towards the top lane, where Jace going into Camille. I know you had a bit of a problem with that, Pulse.
Yeah, I had a bit of beef with the Camille pick. I feel like, okay, he was locked into essentially picking a scaling champion like a Camille or going for maybe like a Jax, a Kled here because there was a Renekton Jarvan ban. Okay, he's locked into that right now. But now you have the Camille instead of a Jax, and you know you're going to lose that matchup against Jace. It's not going to be a good matchup, and we saw it. He was getting decimated up there, and that's before you had jungle interaction. And I can understand it, right? You want the pick potential, you want him to go into those team fights. He's not ultimately going to be a 1v1 champion for such a long time. I just didn't see the Camille pick, and then we saw it just honestly get wrecked in laning phase.
So I'm hearing a lot of negativity around RNG's composition. Do we think that there was a glaring flaw here that they could have fixed, or was this just an execution problem?
For me, it was definitely an execution problem, because I can see the Camille working out, but then it goes straight into the 5-minute point in which the outplay top lane for that gank. It was really expertly played from KT to be able to pull it in. Gragas was able to completely delete Camille very early on. And what you saw from that point forward, up until 9 minutes, they definitely needed to camp that top lane and get Camille back up.
Yeah, on your screen right now, this was a fast and furious game that started for pretty much 3 minutes in. It was an early MLXG gank, you know, trying to tilt Def, maybe making the most out of Mata's arrogance to be that far forward level 2, and it just exploded all over the map.
Yeah, this is the outplay you're talking about, Raz, and this was an outplay. The 2v2, I mean, undeniably went over to KT, and that was a complete demolition in the top lane. It just made it so hard for the top lane after that.
But ultimately, what are the takeaways here from such a tug of war, you know, trading kills across the map that you guys got from this game?
That MLXG was a god for a good portion of the time. That he was able to recover a lot of the problems that happened top lane. Because he didn't have to commit to one gank, he had to commit to a second. That was legitimately a tent in the top side of the map, just so Camille didn't fall behind to what was going to be a Blade of the Rune King Jace. And they even went for a mid lane dive to put Pond behind. So a lot of the early game advantages came to MLXG.
Yeah, it was a feels good, man, because he actually did come out here. He had a good performance. And as you said, he actually turned that top lane around, because if he didn't, the game probably would have been over by 20.
But that's a feels bad, man. Looking at that damage graph, to walk away with the loss after Xiaohu does that much, I mean, we're praising MLXG, but at the end of the day, they lost.
And that's the other big thing, though, when you look at the draft, is that Xiaohu still got his Corki. He still was berserk on his Corki, the amount of damage he was able to do. But Corki's a one-carry type of champion in a team composition where you're going to need at least 2, and Letme's losing lane because he's been countered. Your bottom lane isn't having a good time because Alistar is a much more relevant laning support for the early stages of the game, coupled with the Kalista. So naturally, now you've only got one potentially winning lane. It's an equal laning phase as it stands. They were never able to use Xiaohu to break that second lane. They just had to hard camp with MLXG, and it still wasn't an advantage. It was just money that they were getting.
It was one of those small points to take away from it, because you want to be having Xiaohu in the top side of the map, so just to push it in so you can get vision in the red side jungle. But then you saw one of those small moments in which Pond was just sitting in that tri-bush for a little bit, even sidestepped Xiaohu coming in, so he chunked them out. So there was time being cut down on the side of KT, and it made it uncomfortable for RNG to push their early game advantage.
And ultimately, it was small moments that came to end this game. Of course, it was the Baron fight in the very end where KT Rolster finally pulled the trigger, took the Baron, and pretty much broke this game wide open.
I mean, ultimately, it wasn't going to be about this Baron dance. Papa said it himself on the desk, and it took a long time to get there, but it was bloody, it was messy. There was a bit of debate between us what MLXG was trying to achieve right here. Was it the steal? Was it the fight? Regardless, it just didn't work out well. Once everybody got scattered, it was just the chase down, and of course, Death is going to run over you at that point.
And I kind of have one final question. I mean, could that fight have gone 50-50? Was it a 50-50 up until that point, or had KT Rolster just set up the perfect dominoes to knock down?
It was just a poor position for RNG to be in, because that's not going to be a 50-50 with the Smite and Kalista Ren being on top of Baron. Thank goodness for Def taking that 6-1 and 9 KDA.
Yeah, and even with the Ren not being used to secure the Baron, it was used to secure kills. It was by no means a 50-50. KT were prioritizing the picks before they went for the objectives. They were playing their composition out, using their bottom lane 2v2, and very much so a key player in this is Def.
So was this a tug-of-war game, or did KT Rolster really have this wrapped up in a nice bow by 25 minutes, and it just took, you know, the extra 10 to close it?
It was definitely a tug-of-war. I think that RNG coming up to that exact point, where in it there was a good 6-7 minutes of them just going around Baron, getting proper vision, team fights being won by RNG, but ultimately KT gets the win.
Cool, thank you so much. But we do have Wendy standing ready for our interview.
Hello everyone. Thank you for watching the 2017 Rift Rivals. And now we're interviewing Mata, KT support. So yes, this is the first time KT came up for our tournament.
시합을 치르게 됐는데요. 어제 경기 보면서 특별히 강하다고 느낀 팀이 없는지 궁금합니다.
제가 개인적으로 봤을 때는 한국 팀이 아무래도 안정적으로 초반에 불리하더라도 게임을 잘해서 한국 팀들이 잘하는 것 같아요.
他觉得就是 LCK 赛区的队伍，就是就算前期是逆风，
So he thinks that LCK's teams, even though if they're put in the losing game, they will still turn the fights around. So the audience was laughing, and yeah, the interviewer was saying that it's good to have confidence in their own region.
这一次也有注意到，在开局的时候，下路线是打算直接开打的，结果 RGN
So we did see that in the early game, the bot lane wanted to fight.
可是，在他们在这件事情之后呢，他们却没有因此对线变得比较保守，这样的自信是为什么？
However, although it didn't really succeed, but they still kept their confidence and kept fighting. So how did you feel about that?
팀적으로 얘기 나온 게 오히려 스펠을 많이 빼가지고 나쁘지 않은 결과라고 생각했고요. 그것 때문에 탑에서 이제 렉사이까지 잡게 됐기 때문에 오히려 좋았다고 생각해요.
就是他们团队在讲说，因为把对面的双招都逼出来了，所以他们觉得并没有损失很多，而且这个导致在上
So
路
he's
还
saying
抓到
that
雷克
because
萨，所以
everyone
他们
was
觉
in
得完全没有影
vision,
响。
they didn't really get affected by what other team was doing.
雷克萨在中期的时候，的确是到处各路去 gank， 可是有没有因此
So Rek'Sai was ganking a lot of
이제
lanes.
중반에 렉사이가 상당히 갱킹을 많이 다녔는데요. 그것 때 어떻게 생각하시는지?
렉사이가 한 번 죽고 나서부터 이제 탑에 가가지고 2번 정도 제이스를 땄는데 그것 때문에 약간 이제 운영하기가 힘들어져가지고 애 좀 먹은 것 같아요.
因为雷克萨就是死第一次之前，就是他上路
So before
还杀
Rek'Sai's
到那个
first
杰
death,
西，所以他觉得
and
这
he
个
did
对
get a
他
kill
们
on
的
Jace.
地图影响蛮大的。
So it was a bit of a confidence killer. However, they did decide to keep
让大家
fighting.
都现场很欢呼，就是在小龙区一个小碰撞，牛
So
头
there
到了
was
地
like a
龙，
fight which was
当
very
下的
pop
心
off
情有感
at
觉到非常
Dragon.
惊讶吗？
이제 알리스타로
So were you
드래곤을 뺏으셨는데
very
그때
surprised about your Alistar play?
그때 뭐 용보다는 좀 라칸을 죽이려고 많이 해가지고 그거에 신경 썼는데 이제 데프트 선수가 나중에 제가 알리스타가 용을 먹었다고 하더라고요. 네, 그때 알았어요.
他其实那个时候在专心去抓那个瑞空，所以他其实不知道。之
So
后
he
Dave
was
才有
very
跟他说
focused.
你吃到龙了，他才吓到的。
And then killing others, but then he was very, very surprised that he got the dragon.
데프트 선수가 이렇게 얘기해줬는데 되게 기쁘셨는지.
기뻤다기보다는 조금 그냥 어이없었던 것 같아요.
他说其实没有，就是他完全没想到，所以有点就是愣住了。
So he didn't really think about stealing the dragon, so he was very surprised when he did.
那最后大家有看到，其实下路双人线表现是非常亮眼的。
So we did say that bot lane did perform very, very well.
이제
So what do you have to say about that?
슈퍼 플레이를 많이 보여줬는데요. 그거에 대해서 어떻게 한마디 해주고 싶으신지.
저는 딱히 슈퍼 플레이 저희 보티어가 했다기보다 저는 그 바론 쪽에서 제가 무리하게 들어갔다가 잘린 것 때문에 좀 오늘 좀 못했던 것 같아요.
他说他其实想不太到他们今天在秀的地方，他只想到在巴龙那边就是有一点进场失误。
So he didn't really expect anything, but however, at the Baron fight, it was a very important fight.
那时候的状况是怎么样？可以稍微描述一下。
So can you describe the state of yourself at that time?
어땠는지 한번 말씀해 주시겠어요?
그때 이제 바론을 치다가 걸 생각으로 했는데 제가 너무 무리하게 들어가는 바람에 저만 잘리고 이제 팀적으로 피해를 본 것 같아요.
他说那个时候原本是要打巴龙，等对面来开战，但是他进
So
场
at the
太快
Baron
了，
fight,
对我们
we were
没办法
waiting for the
跟
other
上，
team
所以
to come.
他就自己死掉了。
So he was very surprised that he just got in and then died.
那我们这边非常谢谢 Mata，也恭喜 KT。
Thank you very much to Mata.
那我们休息一下
And congratulations for the win.
回来。
Always nice to hear from Mata, but that was KT Rolster toppling RNG. That said, next up we have J Team versus EDG, so don't go anywhere.
He's down to sub 100 health, but he still gets knocked up after the flash. The knock up to follow with the grand entrance of First Blood to MLXG. Gets the flash body slam, bops him into the face, and now Smeb, he's going to go to the skies and pick up the double. The trample's going to grab him, and he steals the dragon. We say that Mata giveth, Mata taketh away, and he's given it this game. There's the knock up onto Scorpion. Does a lot of damage in the front line. They do trade it, as now the curtain calls picking up the kills. Def is trying to dance around Let Me, looks for it, gets the kill as Pawn flashes himself to safety. And now KT Rolster, they're going to ignore Let Me unless he goes a little bit too far forward and take down the Nexus.